Welcome back to the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali to talk our best bets and fades of the Thanksgiving week at Churchill Downs and Fairgrounds, where we have a ton of stakes action. And Darin, happy early Thanksgiving. I'll let you start things off today. Tell us what your best bet of the week is and where you're going to play that.
Yeah, I've been a fan of this horse since the actually two starts back, and Runaway Storm, who's running in the big stake race at Churchill Downs on Sunday, which is the Commonwealth Turf Stake. A lot of people are going to look at this horse and say, well, if I wasn't there for the wedding, don't be there for the funeral, which is the adage of if you're not there when the horse is 15-1, don't be there when the horse is 5-1. But this horse came out of the Virginia Derby and ran what was a sensational race, showing tremendous early speed despite really quick fractions, hung around for third. The winner of that race was, of course, Integration, who might be the best American turf horse that there is around right now. And probably if you asked me to make a future wager on who champion turf male would be in 2024, he would take all of my money. He came out of that race to run last time in a stake at Keeneland, where he was not able to show his customary early speed because he got off to a terrible beginning. He moved to the outside on the backstretch, circled up the field into strong fractions, sustained that run through the stretch, and was able to get his head down on the wire in what was a very professional win in which he overcame a lot of adversity. You're not going to get the price this time around. I just happen to think this is a real quality horse, and I'll keep going back to that race that he ran against Integration. I'm looking for him to come back with another big effort in the Commonwealth Turf Stakes on Sunday at Churchill Downs. A spectacular weekend of racing there, Ashley.
All right. Well, James, what's your best bet this week?
Well, I like Darin's pick. We've talked about Runaway Storm before, and I'm a fan of his as well. But my best bet of the weekend is number one, Stop the Press in race 8 at Churchill Downs on Saturday. This is a basically throw out the first effort. This was a well-meant Uncle Mo colt who had a bunch of bullet workouts. He showed up for his debut on October 26th at Keeneland, and basically had his last 2 works were from the starting gate, and 3 of his last 4 were from the starting gate. That's always one of my favorite handicapping tips for playing firsters. Horses that have back-to-back gate works, like a bunch of recent gate works, are having some kind of issue with the gate, and they typically don't break well at first asking. No surprise, Stop the Press as the 5-2 favorite, broke in a jumble, got all roughed around, bumped around. It was all frustrated early. He split the field in 6 that day, a big field, and he's going to come back and run much better at second asking. I'm not surprised to see Tyler Gaffalione take the mount on this colt. It's a $1.5 million Uncle Mo's son. He's listed at 10-1 on the morning line. I got a feeling he'll get bet down a little bit from that price, guys, but I think he's going to run a lot better. That's just the perfect learning experience. One thing that these trainers can't duplicate in the mornings in their workouts is breaking from the gate in the afternoon. A lot of horses that break poorly the first time learn what it's all about, have no issues the second time, and I'll look for Stop the Press to graduate at second asking on Saturday, Ashley.
Well, I hope you get something close to that price. I certainly like it at 10-1. And I'm going to go over to Fairgrounds on Thursday in the Thanksgiving Classic. And I like number 7, Super Ocho, at 5-1 in the 6 furlong sprint. This is the lone true pace setter in the field. If you go by Brisnet past performances, he's the only horse designated as an E-type. And early pace setters are winning at a very high rate in 6 furlong sprints at Fairgrounds this meet. This is a 5-year-old. He's actually 0 for 5 at 6 furlongs. But he just came off a more than 6-length win in a 5 furlong allowance at Delta Downs on October 26th when he switched back to rider Vicente Del Cid. Del Cid's a 22% winner with sprints. He's also 3 for 6 paired with trainer Amador Sanchez over the last 2 months. And Sanchez is a 19% winner, second start off the layoff. Del Cid also won. His only other start was Super Ocho back in January. It was a 5 furlong sprint, and he won by more than 5 lengths going gate to wire. I like that pairing, so I'm going to back them over number 9, Miles Ahead, at 2-1. He hasn't won in 6 starts, and in his only race at Fairgrounds, he ended up finishing, I think, a distant 5th. So going Super Ocho here.
I like that pick as well. I think Miles Ahead is vulnerable in that spot, so I'm sort of keen to take him on as well.
All right, well, let's talk about the horse we're fading at a short price. Who do you have, James?
I'm going to go with First. My best fade is First Mission in the Clark Stakes on Friday at Churchill Downs. First Mission is a colt that flashed town earlier this year, breaking his maiden and then winning the Lexington narrowly over Arabian Lion. He came back and was entered in the Preakness, but sustained an injury and had to be scratched. And when he came back on October 14th at Keeneland, he was bet down to odds on 2-5. And I thought it was a very inauspicious performance. He was all out to get the win. 3 horses all together. Seemingly the race, nobody, was just up for grabs. In fact, the top 4 finishers were separated by less than a half length. And First Mission speed ratings dropped 10 points from his previous effort. It was same track, same distance, 10-point drop. That's not what I like to see from a short price favorite in his last outing, who then has to step up in class and step up to a 1.8 mile distance that might be a little bit tricky for him. I'm not convinced he's a 9-furlong horse yet, and I will let First Mission beat me at short odds in the Clark Stakes on Friday, Darin.
Yeah, I think I know somebody who faded him last time at 2-5 and almost looked very smart in doing so, but almost only counts in horseshoe and hand grenades, as we know. I'm going to go to the fairgrounds in a tough 2-year-old allowance. I'm going to fade Because the Night. And just because I think the horse is going to be wildly overbet off the last trip. Not that the horse can't win, but the debut was a 6-length victory in an off-the-turf event at Horseshoe Indianapolis, in which I've seen standardbreds get down to the half mile faster than they did in this particular race at Horseshoe Indy. Then came into the race at Colonial and the Kitten's Joy, where did catch traffic and did finish with run. But if you go back, you watch that race, he's coming out of a stake into an allowance. He caught trouble. I just think that his chances of winning the race are not going to be reflected by the win odds. I think this horse is going to be under 2-1, and I don't think he's 35-40% likely to win this race. I think it's a competitive field. His speed figures are not particularly strong, guys, in either of those 2 efforts. So I'm a little bit dubious at the short price that we're going to have to take for the major connections. So because of all those reasons, I'm going to fade Because the Night, and what is probably another bold fade. But I'm going to take a chance against him at a short price, guys.
Yeah, like that a 64 and a 67 Brisnet speed rating. I actually kind of like the other Brad Cox runner, Benvolio, but Marcelina Pedrosa is picking up the mount on Because the Night. So kind of makes me think that must be the stronger horse, but certainly like that fade as well. I'm going to be fading number 2, Train to Artemis, in race 8 at Fairgrounds on Saturday in the Panzeretta Stakes. This is a 5-year-old mare dropping in class and was just a 1-length third in the Grade 2 Franklin at Keeneland last out, but she hasn't won in 5 starts. So always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Got to throw in my own adage there, but I stole it from James last time. The other reason I don't like Train to Artemis, she's making her first start for John Ennis, who's 0 for 17 with horses making their first start with a trainer. He's also 0 for 26 in non-graded stakes, and I don't think there's been an official workout recorded for Train to Artemis since her last start for Kelly Breen, so I'm skeptical on this morning line favorite. I much prefer the second choice on the morning line, number 5, Karimba at 7-2. 4 for 7 from the distance, has a second and a third from 7 tries at 5.5 furlongs on the turf. And I also think number 9, Redefined, is an interesting long shot for Michelle Lovell. She just won by more than 3 lengths at Churchill in her second start since transferring to Lovell's barn. So I think she has a chance to improve second start off the layoff here, and I'll look to those horses instead.
Before you sent in your fade, I was in the process of doing all of my picks, and I had Train to Artemis down, and then I literally went to go type it to send it in, and I see your fade is the same, so I had to go back and regroup. But I agree. I think that she's a fade in this spot. It's a very competitive filly and mare turf sprint. I actually like Going Good in this race, who is a horse that I've always been fond of, and I think she's going to work out a good trip from this outside post, and she seemingly never runs a bad race, and I think she's a good alternative to the chalk, Ashley.
All right, well, Darin, before we talk about what else we'll be watching for this weekend, you got any good Thanksgiving week promos?
Oh, of course we do. Yeah, it's closing weekend at Churchill Downs. So we've got 2 promos. We got the 10 times wager rewards points. We got the $2,000 daily hit it and split it on the late pick 5 as well. So we got both of those promos going through the end of the meet. We also have a Fairgrounds $2,000 challenge on Saturday, November the 25th, where you have to bet $10 or more to win on the selected races in the offer, and the person or people that have the most winners will share in a $2,000 prize. That's this Saturday at the fairgrounds. And we won't get into exactly what the promos are, but I will just caution you and let you know when we have meet and certain meets start to end and meets begin, like we have Turfway starting and Gulfstream and Oaklawn coming up. So be sure to pay attention to the promo page next week and the weeks to come to see a brand new slate of offers as well. But we do have 3 good ones to close out the Churchill meet and at the start of this fairgrounds meet as well, Ashley.
All right, and Darin, tell us what else you'll be watching for this week. And I think maybe some harness is on your radar.
Yeah, there's a really cool story this weekend in harness racing, and it's happening at the Meadowlands. There's a horse by the name of Confederate, who is one of the best 3-year-old pacers that we've seen in a generation. He's only been beaten once all season, and it was a completely trip-compromised race in the North America Cup. What's happening is he's facing older horses in the FanDuel Championship this Saturday at the Meadowlands. Now, why is that significant? Well, it's not like thoroughbred racing where 3-year-olds beat older horses in the fall of the season often. In fact, this will be the first time that a 3-year-old pacer would beat an older pacer in a major stake race in 43 years. It has not happened since Niatros did it in the American Pacing Championship at Hollywood Park, which, believe it or not, used to host harness racing back in 1980. So it's a really cool story. He's drawn post 9. He's got to face By the Missile and Tattoo Artists, who are in post 3 and 4, who are the 2 best older pacers in the country. But if it can be done, it's a piece of history that hasn't been done in my lifetime, which is pretty astonishing to say. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's an exciting event at the Meadowlands on Saturday. They have 4 of these championship races. There's a 3-year-old in each of them facing older, 2 trotters, 2 fillies and mares, 1 pacer, 1 trotter, and then there's 4 2-year-old championship races as well. It's a stellar night of racing Saturday night at the Meadowlands. I'm really looking forward to it, guys.
I'm old enough to remember Niatros. It does seem like a lifetime ago. That would be something. I did not know that about 3-year-old pacers taking out older horses. That's great trivia, great info there. My what else is going to be in the Kentucky Jockey Club on Saturday, Road to the Kentucky Derby points qualifier. 4 of the 8 runners in the field have stakes experience. And I've been underwhelmed by all 4 horses' performances so far, including that of 2-1 favorite Risk It and the Iroquois. And I'm going to look for somebody else. I'm going to look for a new face sort of in the crowd, a maiden or allowance type. And the one horse I want to mention I'm intrigued by is number 2, Honor Marie. Now, this is an Honor Code colt, bred for 2 turns, broke his maiden first time out at 6 furlongs from off the pace, left himself too much to do behind a really nice colt, I think, Otto the Conqueror for Asmussen last time, finished a rally in second. I think he'll love to stretch out in distance, could get the right lively setup for his late run. I'll also use Real Men Violin, who just won an off the pace maiden race at Churchill, and Stretch Ride, who's coming off maiden and allowance wins for Dale Romans. I'm going to try to beat the runners with stakes experience, and I'm really excited to see this Stars of Tomorrow 2 program on Saturday, Ashley.
Yeah, I like Real Men Violin. I thought he looked really good and, breaking his maiden. It took him 5 tries, but he had a 105 late pace figure, certainly bodes well for stretching out here. So he's my pick in that race. And I wanted to talk about the Road to the Kentucky Oaks. We have the Goldenrod, a grade 2 event for fillies, and probably going to come down. A lot of the money is going to come in on the Brad Cox runner, number 7, West Sunset at 2-1. And number 8, Torpedo Anna, is 8-5 for Kenny McPeak. Both of them are unbeaten, but I'm actually interested in number 5, Central Avenue, at 5-1. This is a Godolphin homebred, a street sense filly out of an AP Indy mare, and she broke her maiden on debut, racing 7 furlongs, and then finished second, got up late to finish second to Just FYI in the grade 1 Frizette last out. Obviously, Just FYI just came back to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. So I'm interested to see how, Central Avenue comes out in this race. I think she's got a shot, and I'm going to take a chance with her at 5-1. Who do you all like?
I wish you well, because I think Torpedo Anna is an absolute monster.
Oh, yeah. We'll see. I mean, I'm going with the closer here, so she gets the right setup.
Torpedo Anna is running back really, really quick, which is a bit interesting. She ran back in 2 weeks between start 1 and start 2, and now she's running back in 2 weeks again. So when you have a 2-year-old filly who's running these monster races and putting up these huge speed figures and running this quickly, it's a little bit of a question mark, because you figure eventually, if they're not a monster, they're going to regress a little bit. but you watch her 2 starts. It's hard. It's hard not to like her because
I thought that the Goldenrod was a more compelling race than the Jockey Club. I am intrigued by some of these fillies in there.
There's a lot of talent in here for
even
sure.
that Arrogate filly for Cherie DeVoe. I thought, I just thought after that race, that Purloin, she's just going to keep getting better and better. So good field in the Goldenrod.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, that's all the time we have today for the jury. We wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll be back next week with more best bets and fades.